Evan Carter had always enjoyed quiet evenings. He liked the way the darkness settled gently over the small town at the edge of the valley, how the air grew still, and how the stars revealed themselves one by one, as if performing for anyone patient enough to watch. His cabin stood alone, a few minutes beyond the last streetlight, surrounded by tall pine trees that made everything feel peaceful and slow. Most nights, he would sit by the window with a mug of warm tea and look up at the sky. That night was colder than usual. The kind of cold that pressed against the windows and made the wooden floor creak softly, as if the house itself was shivering. Evan wrapped himself in a thick blanket, expecting nothing more unusual than a few shooting stars. But something changed the moment the clock reached past midnight. A bright light, much brighter than any star or plane, flashed across the sky. It moved fast, too fast, and left a long trail of shimmering white light behind it. Evan stood up, letting the blanket fall. At first, he thought it might be fireworks from the town, but the light didn't burst. It didn't fade gently either. Instead, it streaked downward, straight toward the forest behind his cabin. Then there was a deep, soft glow, almost like a giant lantern had been set on the ground somewhere between the trees. His heart began to beat a little faster, but not from fear. Evan had always been curious. As a boy, he loved exploring the woods, searching for strange rocks or plants. As an adult, he spent hours reading about astronomy and space science. So when he saw that glow, his mind rushed with possibilities. Maybe a meteor had landed. Maybe it was a small one and hadn't burned up completely. He had never seen a meteor up close. Without thinking much, he grabbed his flashlight and stepped outside. The cold air hit him right away. His breath came out in soft clouds as he walked down the small wooden steps. The snow on the ground made soft crunching sounds under his boots. The glow in the forest faded a little as he walked, but it did not disappear completely. It pulsed softly, like a heart beating slowly. The forest was darker than usual. The trees blocked most of the moonlight, and only the beam of his flashlight showed the path. Each step carried a mix of excitement and caution. He didn't know what he was walking toward, but the light had looked real, too real to ignore. After a few minutes of walking, Evan noticed something strange. The snow on the ground had melted in a small circular area ahead of him. Steam rose from the wet soil. This wasn't normal. A meteor could cause heat, yes, but this looked different. It looked like the ground had been warmed from above, not burned. He crouched down and touched the soil. It was warm enough to make him pull his hand back. His curiosity grew stronger. He lifted his flashlight and pointed it further into the trees. That was when he saw her. At first, Evan froze, unsure if his eyes were tricking him. There was a figure sitting on the ground, leaning against a fallen log. She looked like a woman, but something about her didn't seem completely human. Her skin had a soft glow, a silver-blue shimmer that looked almost like moonlight trapped under her surface. She was shivering hard, her arms wrapped around herself as if trying to hold in whatever warmth she still had. Her long hair fell over her shoulders, but even that seemed slightly different, thin strands that reflected light like tiny threads of glass. She looked up when she sensed his movement. Her eyes, large and slightly brighter than normal, met his. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Evan's breath caught in his throat. He didn't feel scared. He felt stunned. She looked lost, freezing, and exhausted, as if she had walked through a storm and reached the end of her strength. When she finally spoke, her voice trembled. The words weren't perfect, as if she was still learning how to shape them. I'm freezing, human. Let me in, I beg. Her voice was soft and gentle, but full of pain. She tried to move, but her body shook too much. Evan stepped closer, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. It's okay, he said quietly. She nodded weakly. Her skin flickered with light, dimming and brightening like a fading lamp. Evan didn't know who she was or where she had come from. but he could see she needed help. She looked fragile, like someone who had been traveling far more than she should have. He took off his coat and draped it around her shoulders. It was far too large for her, but she pulled it close. Her shivering slowed a little. He crouched next to her. "Can you walk?" She tried to stand, but her legs shook beneath her. Evan caught her gently before she slipped. She was surprisingly light, as if her body carried less weight than it should. Carefully, he supported her, helping her lean against him. She looked up at him again, her eyes full of gratitude. You help me?" she asked softly, almost unbelieving. "Yes," Evan said, his voice steady. "Come with me. My home is warm." "Why?" She nodded again, trusting him instantly in a way that surprised him. Together, they moved slowly through the forest. Evan guided her over fallen branches and uneven patches of snow. Every few steps, she breathed out small clouds of white mist, shivering whenever the cold wind touched her skin. As they neared the cabin, Evan looked down at her. Something about her glow reminded him of starlight. It wasn't bright enough to shock the eyes, but soft and calming. He wondered if she had been the source of the light he saw falling from the sky. And if she was, what did that mean? They reached the porch, and he opened the door quickly to let the warm air greet them. She stepped inside slowly, looking around with curiosity and confusion. The heater hummed softly in the background, filling the cabin with comforting warmth. Evan closed the door behind them and guided her to the couch. She sat carefully, pulling his coat even tighter around herself. Her glow grew a little brighter now that she wasn't exposed to the cold. He walked to the small kitchen and poured hot water into a cup. "This will warm you up," he said, as he handed it to her. She looked at the steam rising from the cup. At first, she didn't understand what to do. Evan showed her gently by taking a small sip from another cup. She copied him, slowly lifting the drink to her lips. A soft sigh escaped her as the heat spread through her. "You are kind," she whispered, her voice steadier now. Evan sat across from her, still processing everything. The cabin's soft lighting revealed more details about her. Her skin looked smooth, almost glass-like in places, and faint patterns shimmered under the surface shapes that reminded him of constellations. Her clothes, thin and torn, didn't look like fabric from Earth. The material seemed half-transparent and delicate, like woven light. He didn't know what to ask first. Who she was, where she came from, how she fell from the sky. But he didn't want to overwhelm her. She looked tired, as if carrying many secrets, but not ready to reveal them. For now, she needed warmth and safety. That was enough. As she sipped the warm drink, her shimmering patterns slowly steadied, glowing softly instead of flickering. Evan could see color returning to her cheeks, an unusual shade, but clearly healthier. She looked at him again, her eyes calmer. "I will explain soon," she said softly. "But please, let me rest. The cold, it weakened me greatly." Evan nodded. "Of course. Rest as long as you need. You're safe here." A gentle smile touched her lips, small, tired, but genuine. She leaned back against the couch cushions and closed her eyes, letting the warmth heal her. Evan watched her quietly. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. He didn't know if anyone else had seen the falling light, or if someone might come searching. But he knew one thing with certainty. His life had changed the moment he found her in the forest. And whatever her story was, it had only just begun. Evan woke the next morning with the soft sound of the heater humming in the background. For a moment he lay still, unsure whether everything from the night before had been real. It felt almost impossible that a glowing woman from another world was resting under his roof. His dreams had been filled with strange lights and gentle voices, but it was hard to tell where the dream ended and reality began. He pushed the blanket aside and sat up slowly. The cabin was quiet, except for the soft crackling from the wood stove. His breath didn't feel cold, which meant he had kept the heat going just right. He stood and walked toward the living room, each step soft on the wooden floor. There she was. Alia was sitting on the couch, wrapped in the blanket he had given her. The early morning light entered through the curtains and touched her softly glowing skin, making her look peaceful and almost fragile. She wasn't shivering anymore. Instead, she watched the window quietly, as if she were trying to understand what morning meant on this world. When she heard him, she turned her head. "Good morning, Evan," she said softly. He felt a small wave of relief. "Good morning. How do you feel?" She took a slow breath and nodded. "Warmer. Stronger." He smiled. "I'm glad." Alia touched the edge of the blanket thoughtfully. "This fabric keeps warmth inside. It is simple, but very useful." Evan chuckled lightly. "That's a blanket. Humans use them all the time." She nodded slowly, as if storing that information. "Your world depends on warmth. Mine does not. This is new for me." Evan moved to the small kitchen area and started preparing breakfast. As he boiled water for tea and heated some bread on the stove, he noticed Alia watching with open curiosity. Every sound, every movement, even the smell seemed to capture her attention. "You're studying everything," he said with a smile. "Yes," she replied softly. "I must understand this world if I wish to survive in it, even for a short time." He served tea and placed a slice of warm bread on a plate near her. She picked up the cup carefully, studying it as though it were a strange artifact. She breathed in the steam, then took a small sip. Her eyes softened. "It is warm and gentle," she said. "This helps my energy." He nodded. "It will keep you comfortable." As she tried the bread next, she looked thoughtful but calm. "Your foods have texture and flavor. It is strange, but pleasant." They ate in comfortable silence for a few moments. Alia's glow brightened softly, showing that the heat was helping her regain strength. After breakfast, she slowly stood and walked around the cabin. She moved with a grace that almost felt weightless. She touched the wooden walls, the fabric of the curtains, the metal lamp switch, the books on the shelves, everything with careful hands. "Your home is small," she said softly, "but it feels safe." "That's the idea," Evan replied with a gentle laugh. "A home is where people feel comfortable." She nodded. "I understand. My world has places like this too. Simple shelters where we rest our energy." Her glow shifted gently as she spoke, like soft light rippling underwater. Evan eventually gathered enough courage to ask the question that had been in his mind since last night. "So, Alia, where exactly are you from?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stepped toward the window and looked out at the snowy trees. The white world outside looked peaceful, untouched. The sky was bright, but cold. "I come from a world far from here," she said finally. "A place filled with soft light and flowing air. We do not walk the way you do. We do not speak with sound. We do not build homes from stone or wood." Evan listened carefully. He didn't want to interrupt. "My people travel with energy. We move across worlds using paths you cannot see. But something happened to my vessel. A failure. I lost control. When I entered your skies, the cold hit me too quickly. My body was not prepared." Evan nodded slowly. "That's why you were freezing." "Yes." She turned to him. "If you had not found me, I would not have survived." He felt something tighten in his chest. It wasn't fear. It was a sense of responsibility, a realization of how close she had been to disappearing forever. "I'm glad I found you." Alia smiled a calm, soft smile that lit up her whole face gently. "So am I." She walked around the cabin a little more, testing her steps like someone learning a new rhythm. Every now and then she would rest a hand on a table or the back of a chair, as if the effort of adapting to Earth's gravity tired her slightly. Is this place far from other humans? She asked. Yes, Evan replied. People don't usually come out here. I work from home, so I don't see many visitors. This is good, she said. I do not wish to be seen, not until I am strong enough. Evan felt curiosity rising again. Her glow dimmed for a brief moment, like a quiet sigh. Perhaps, she said, my people do not harm, but others, from different groups, do not always approve of traveling to other worlds. They believe it is dangerous. They may try to bring me back. Would they hurt you? Evan asked carefully. No, she said quickly. Not hurt, but they would not understand why I came alone. They may try to restrict me, keep me from exploring. Evan nodded slowly. So you want to stay hidden until you can return by choice? Alia nodded. Yes, I must protect my freedom. She walked toward the couch and sat down gently, her glow settling into a soft, calm pattern. I need time, she said. Time to regain my strength. Time to repair the device that brought me here. Can I help? Evan asked without thinking. Alia looked surprised, pleasantly surprised. You would help me repair it? Of course. You're not alone. Something warm flickered in her eyes. He laughed softly. Is that a good thing? She tilted her head. Yes. A very good thing. 3. Free. 3. For a while, they stayed in the living room. Alia explained small pieces of how her travel device worked, not too much at once, because the ideas were complicated. She used simple words so Evan could follow. She told him about the energy core that kept her vessel stable, the navigation pattern that guided her through invisible paths, and the protective field that normally handled temperature changes. Most of it is damaged, she said quietly, but not broken beyond repair. I only need to regain enough energy to use my abilities. Evan noticed how she said it calm, confident, but also humble. Take whatever time you need, he said. Alia studied his face for a long moment, as if reading emotions she didn't fully understand yet. You speak with honesty, she said softly. Your emotions match your words. That is rare. I rubened. The afternoon passed with quiet conversation. Alia asked about many things: how electricity worked, why humans slept at night, how snow formed, why the wind made sound. She listened closely to every explanation, watching his expressions carefully, as if learning the meaning of human emotion through him. At one point, she touched the window again, watching a bird fly past. Your creatures move with wings, she said quietly. In my world, we lift ourselves with energy. But this, her voice softened, this is beautiful too. Evan realized then that she wasn't just curious. She admired the world around her. She respected it. As evening came, the light outside dimmed, and the cabin grew warm and quiet again. Evan prepared soup and offered her some. She ate slowly, as if each bite helped her understand something new about Earth. After dinner, Alia sat near the fire. The warm glow reflected on her skin, making her seem like a part of the light itself. There is something I must tell you, she said calmly. Evan turned to her. What is it? I made you a promise last night. A reward. She looked down at her hands. My people do not promise lightly. It is part of our spirit, our nature. You don't have to reward me, Evan said softly. She shook her head gently. I want to. You deserve it. Not because you expect it, but because your heart acts with kindness. He felt his cheeks warm slightly. No one had ever said something like that to him. My reward is not an object, Alia explained. It is something I share only with those I trust deeply. What is it? Evan asked. Curious, but calm. She looked into his eyes with calm confidence. I will show you my world, not by traveling, but through memory, through energy. You will see what I have seen. You will feel what my people feel when we view the universe. Evan sat still, awe washing over him. But not yet, she added gently. When my strength returns fully, I will give you this gift. He nodded. I'll wait. The fire crackled softly. Alia's glow dimmed as her body relaxed, her energy settling. She wrapped the blanket around herself and rested her head gently against the couch. Evan, she whispered, before closing her eyes. Yes? Thank you. For seeing me as a person, not as something strange. His voice softened. You are a person, Alia. Just from a far place. She smiled gently, her glow warm. Then she drifted into a peaceful sleep. Evan watched her quietly, the soft light from her skin mixing with the firelight. He didn't know how long she would stay. He didn't know what dangers might come. But he knew one thing, with certainty. He would do everything he could to help her feel safe. Their connection was growing, built on trust, kindness, and curiosity. And deep in his heart, he felt that her arrival in his quiet life was not an accident, but a turning point. A beginning of something extraordinary. The next 2 days passed differently from anything Evan had ever experienced in his quiet life. His home, which usually felt still and almost too quiet at times, now carried a soft presence that he could feel even when he wasn't looking directly at it. Alia moved gently through the space, curious about everything yet always careful not to disturb anything. She seemed grateful for every small comfort, every warm drink, every blanket, every moment of rest. Evan learned quickly that she was still recovering. Even though she no longer shivered like she had in the forest, he noticed her glow would flicker whenever she grew tired. Whenever she stood up too fast or stayed awake for too long, the patterns beneath her skin dimmed slightly, as if her body needed more time to adapt to the atmosphere around her. He tried not to ask too many questions at once. He let her speak whenever she felt ready, and little by little, she did. On the morning of the 3rd day, she stood by the window, watching the snow fall softly outside. The gentle flakes reflected in her eyes, making them shine even brighter. Her glow was stable now, warm and peaceful. You have a quiet world, she said softly. Evan smiled. I guess it is. Or maybe I just live in a quiet part of it. She turned to him with that soft, thoughtful expression he was beginning to understand. She often paused before speaking, as if translating her thoughts into human words. Your quiet part saved me, she said. He didn't know how to respond to that. The truth was simple. He had only helped because it felt right. But hearing it said in her soft, sincere voice made him feel something warm inside. Later that afternoon, Evan worked on small repairs around the cabin. It had been snowing non-stop, and the cold weather always caused loose edges, sticky windows, and other little problems. Alia followed him around slowly, watching him as he fixed things. You understand tools, she said, observing him turn a screw on a loose cabinet door. Just basic things, Evan replied. My father taught me some simple repairs. Alia touched the side of the cabinet lightly. Her fingertips glowed for a moment, and the wood seemed to smooth itself out. The small crack in the corner vanished as if it had never been there. Evan blinked in surprise. You fixed it? She nodded. It is not difficult for me. Energy can be encouraged to return to its right shape. He didn't fully understand what she meant, but he smiled anyway. Well, thank you. That was amazing. Alia looked pleased, not proudly, but happily, as if helping made her feel useful. She had been glancing around the cabin often, as if looking for things she could repair. Not because she owed him anything, but because she wanted to give back in small ways. Throughout the day, Evan noticed something else Alia was learning. Fast. She asked simple questions at first, like what certain objects were, or how they were used. But her curiosity grew with each answer. She touched books carefully, ran her fingers over printed pages, and listened intently to the sounds of the heater, the kettle, and even the faint hum of the refrigerator. In the evening, while Evan brewed tea, Alia sat at the small table with something unusual in her hands. A small metallic disc she had kept hidden until now. It wasn't larger than her palm, but its surface shimmered with moving patterns. It looked like liquid metal, shaped into a perfectly flat shape. When Evan approached, she looked up with a calm expression. "It is time I tell you more," she said gently. He sat across from her, giving her his full attention. "This," she said, lifting the disc slightly, "is a core piece of the device I used to travel here. Without it, I cannot return, and I cannot send a signal to my home." Evan leaned forward. "So, you think you can repair it?" She nodded slowly. "I believe so. But I will need time, and I will need safety. There are risks." 1. Her eyes clouded slightly, and her glow dimmed just a little. "What kind of risks?" he asked quietly. She looked toward the window, as if searching the sky, although the snow clouds hid everything. "Where I come from," she began carefully, "traveling between worlds is not something everyone is allowed to do. Only certain groups can move freely. Some of them follow strict rules. Others seek to control anyone who steps outside those rules." Evan took a slow breath. "So there are people from your world who might come looking for you?" "Yes," she whispered. "But not all of them wish to help. Some wish to take, to study, to restrict." Evan felt a small, steady concern form in his chest. Not fear, exactly, but responsibility. She looked so gentle and peaceful, and yet somewhere out there were powerful beings who might not be so kind. "Will they know where to find you?" he asked softly. She hesitated before answering. "If my signal core activates by mistake, yes, they will feel the energy signature. It is familiar to them." Evan glanced at the shimmering disc. "How do you keep that from happening?" "I must repair it carefully," she said. "If I succeed, I can send a message to the ones I trust. If I fail, others may hear first." Evan nodded slowly. "Then we have to be careful." Alia smiled faintly, as if his simple "we" meant more to her than he knew. That night, they decided to move the disc and the damaged device that held it to a small storage room behind the cabin. Evan cleared the space so Alia could work without interruptions. She studied the pieces carefully, her fingers moving gracefully over the strange material. "This part," she explained, "helps guide the energy. This part protects it. And this one keeps the core stable." Evan didn't understand the technology, but he watched her work with quiet admiration. Her movements were slow and thoughtful, almost like an artist shaping a delicate sculpture. Every time her fingers glowed, the pieces responded, shifting into place or softening so she could reshape them. But the work took energy from her. After a while, her glow dimmed slightly, and the patterns under her skin moved slower. "You need to rest," Evan said gently. She looked up, almost wanting to continue. But she closed the device carefully and nodded. "I will continue tomorrow. The energy here is different from my world. It takes time to adjust." The following morning brought a different kind of challenge. Evan opened the door to step outside, only to freeze in place. Across the field near the forest edge, he saw faint footprints, large ones, spaced too widely to be human. They looked as if something heavy had walked across the thin snow during the night. He stepped back inside and shut the door quietly. Alia sensed his change in mood right away. "What happened?" she asked softly. Evan described what he saw, choosing his words carefully so he wouldn't worry her too much. Alia listened with calm seriousness. "It may not be from my world," she said finally. "Many creatures walk your forests." "But it could be," Evan asked. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, She placed her hand against the wall of the cabin, letting her glow pulse, faintly. "I do not feel any signal yet," she said at last. "If anyone from my world arrived, I would sense the energy." Evan relaxed slightly, though the footprints remained in his mind. They agreed to stay quiet that day. Alia spent several hours working on the device in silence, while Evan kept watch from the window. The world outside remained still and calm, but there was a new pressure in the air, something neither of them could ignore. In the evening, when Alia emerged from the small room, she carried the device close to her chest. "It is almost ready," she said. "I can repair the last part tomorrow." Evan nodded. "And then?" She looked at him with gentle certainty. "Then, I will send my message, and I will return home." The thought made something shift inside Evan. He knew from the beginning that she couldn't stay forever, but hearing the words made the cabin feel a little emptier. Alia stepped closer. "Do not worry," she said softly. "I keep my promises. I told you I would reward you, and I will." Evan smiled faintly. "I didn't help you, because I wanted anything." "I know," she said, her voice warm. "That is why you are worthy of the gift." He didn't fully understand what she meant, but he felt the sincerity in her tone. That night, they sat quietly by the fire. Alia watched the flames with a soft expression, and Evan studied her shimmering patterns as they reflected the warm light. Neither spoke for a long time, but the silence felt peaceful, not empty. Tomorrow would bring change. Evan could feel it. Alia could feel it too. And although he didn't know what the future held, he knew one thing. Their bond had grown deeper than either of them expected, shaped not by fear or danger, but by trust, kindness, and the gentle warmth of two different worlds meeting in a quiet cabin. The next morning felt different the moment Evan opened his eyes. The air carried a quiet heaviness, as if the world itself knew that something important was about to happen. Outside, the snow had stopped falling, leaving the field covered in a smooth white blanket that sparkled under the pale sunlight. The sky was clear for the first time in days. Evan walked into the living room and found Alia standing by the window, her glow brighter and steadier than ever. She looked energized, almost renewed, as if the night had restored her strength. "Good morning," she said with a calm smile. "Today feels ready." Evan knew what she meant without asking. Today was the day she would repair the final part of her device. Today was the day she would send her message home. And today might also be the day she left. He swallowed quietly, pushing the thought aside for the moment. "Do you feel strong enough?" "Yes," she answered softly. "This world's warmth has helped me, and your care has helped even more." Evan felt a small warmth inside his chest, but he didn't let it distract him. "Then, let's get to work." They moved together to the small storage room behind the cabin. Alia lifted the shimmering disc and the strange metallic pieces she had been repairing. The device looked more complete now. Some of its glowing lines pulsed gently, like veins carrying energy from one part to another. Only one final piece remained disconnected. "This last part is delicate," she explained. "Once I connect it, the device will awaken. It will send a pulse, a quiet signal that only my people can hear." "And it won't attract the others?" Evan asked. "It should not," she said with careful confidence. "As long as the energy remains small and controlled." She began her work. Evan stayed nearby, not wanting to disturb her but wanting to be close in case she needed help. Alia's glowing fingers moved slowly, guiding the last piece into place. The device responded by lighting up softly, filling the room with a gentle silver light. Then, something unexpected happened. Alia's glow began to brighten slowly at first, then stronger, as if her entire being was connecting to the device. The patterns beneath her skin shimmered like waves of starlight. "This is the final moment," she murmured. "When I touch this point, the signal will travel." Evan held his breath as she pressed her hand to the center of the device. A soft hum filled the room, warm and peaceful, like a quiet singing tone. The device lifted slightly from the table, hovering in the air as if weightless. Alia closed her eyes. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "It is done." The hum faded, and the device settled back onto the table. Alia removed her hand and opened her eyes slowly. She looked peaceful, relieved, but also thoughtful. "Did it work?" Evan asked gently. "Yes," she said with quiet certainty. "My message has reached them. Now we wait." Evan nodded slowly. The waiting felt heavier than he had expected. He wondered how long it would take, what would happen, how they would arrive. Alia must have sensed his thoughts, because she stepped closer. "You are worried." "A little," he admitted. "I don't know what comes next." She reached out and placed her hand lightly on his arm. Her touch was warm and soft, and it calmed him instantly. "You have given me safety and kindness. Nothing that comes next will harm you." Evan nodded. He believed her. The day passed quietly. Alia spent time sitting by the fire, her glow soft and warm. Evan checked outside now and then, looking for any sign in the sky. Hours passed, but nothing changed. The world remained calm, still, and quiet. As evening approached, Alia stepped outside for the first time since the night she arrived. Evan followed her. The snow-covered field stretched in every direction, untouched, except for their footprints. The sky above was clear and full of stars, bright and countless. Alia looked up at them with a peaceful expression. "My world is far beyond those lights," she said softly. "But tonight, I feel close to it again." Evan stood beside her. "Will they come soon?" "Yes," she whispered. "I can feel their response. They are on their way." A quiet breeze moved across the field, brushing against their faces. Alia's glow shimmered gently in the cold air. After a moment, she turned to him. "There is something important I must do before they arrive." Evan looked at her, waiting. "Do you remember the promise I made? The reward I offered?" "I really litter." "The reward." He nodded. "Yes." She stepped closer, her eyes glowing with gentle warmth. "You saved my life. You gave me shelter. You asked for nothing. And in my world, such selfless kindness deserves a gift that cannot be forgotten." Evan felt his heart beat a little faster, not out of fear, but out of quiet anticipation. "What kind of gift?" he asked softly. Alia smiled, her glow becoming softer, like a warm lantern in the snow. "A gift of sight, of understanding, a glimpse of the universe that few beings ever receive." She placed her hands lightly on the sides of his head, not pressing, not forcing, just touching gently. "Close your eyes," she whispered. Evan did. For a moment, he felt nothing but the cold air around them. Then, something warm flowed through him. Not heat, but something like a gentle current of light. His mind filled with a soft brightness, and suddenly he was not standing in the snow anymore. He felt weightless. He felt surrounded by stars, not the small, distant dots he saw every night, but enormous, brilliant worlds of light that shimmered in every direction. Colors he had never seen before moved gently through the space around him. Shapes that were not quite real, but not imaginary, appeared soft, flowing structures of energy that looked alive. Then he saw Alia's world, a bright, open place filled with gentle light. Buildings that glowed and shifted like living sculptures. Beings who communicated with warmth and emotion, instead of words. Skies filled with colors and lights, moving like slow rivers above the ground. He saw her people, peaceful, curious, caring. He felt their emotions, kindness, harmony, gentle wisdom. He felt the way they viewed the universe, not as something scary or unknown, but as a vast, beautiful place waiting to be understood. Then, everything softened, and he felt gently pulled back. When he opened his eyes, he was standing in the snowy field again. Alia stood before him, her hands lowering slowly, her glow warm and steady. That, Evan whispered breathlessly. That was incredible. When men are, Evan, Alia smiled softly. That is my gift to you. Evan felt tears in his eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming beauty he had seen. Before he could speak, a soft light appeared in the sky, far away at first, but growing brighter. A gentle, silent glow that descended slowly, peacefully, like a falling star but without fire or fear. Alia watched it with peaceful eyes. They are here. The light stopped above the field, then lowered until a smooth shape hovered just a few feet above the snow. It was beautiful, round, glowing, silent, and calm. It looked like something made of light rather than metal. A soft pathway of light extended toward Alia. She turned to Evan and stepped closer. Her glow brightened as she looked into his eyes. You changed my journey, she said softly. I came here alone. But I leave with something precious. The knowledge that kindness exists in every world. Evan felt his chest tighten gently. Will I ever see you again? Alia smiled, warm, gentle, full of quiet affection. The universe is wide, but paths cross when they are meant to. She lifted her hand and placed it over his heart for a brief, comforting moment. You will feel my presence whenever you remember the light. Then she stepped back and walked toward the glowing vessel. The pathway lifted her gently as she moved, welcoming her home. She paused once more before entering. Her glow brightened like a final farewell. Goodbye, Evan, she whispered. Thank you for everything. The vessel closed softly around her and lifted into the sky. It rose higher and higher, growing smaller, until it became a soft, star-like glow. Then it faded, disappearing into the night. Evan stood there for a long time, watching the sky. The cold air didn't bother him. His heart felt warm, full, changed. He walked back to the cabin slowly. Everything looked the same, yet everything felt different. The world felt bigger now, more alive, more connected. Alia was gone, but she had left a part of her world with him forever. And whenever he looked at the stars, he no longer felt like a lonely observer. He felt like someone who had been seen by the universe itself.